Hi folks, this is Professor Buckley, and I'm going to walk you through taking your exam with Zoom. If you are watching this video, chances are that you are a student in the College of Engineering at University of Delaware, and these are the protocols that we're going to ask you to follow if your instructor requests that you take an exam via Zoom conferencing. Zoom is a conferencing service that we will be using to proctor your exam. The word proctor means basically to monitor your exam while you're taking it. So let's start with why are we doing this on Zoom? The first reason is that engineering courses frequently require long-form written answers. These exam type questions aren't really conducive to multiple choice or take-home exams. So chances are your instructor has composed an exam that requires long-form written answers for which you will receive some form of partial credit on your responses. So it's not very easy to migrate those over to multiple choice or take-home. We want to be able to offer an exam that's similar to the exam that you would have in person that assesses your learning in the course. This means that we need to see your actual written work. So Zoom will allow for a similar proctoring experience that you have in the classroom. So we're trying to make this as close to what you would experience in a real-world classroom setting as possible. And we believe we can achieve that through Zoom using the following protocols. So there are a couple things that we need you to do before you can take an exam on Zoom. One of those things is watching this video. So this is going to be the process for you taking an exam in Zoom. First, we're going to go through some setup that you need to start on well in advance of actually sitting down and taking your exam. Then we're going to talk about the process, the check-in process that's going to occur immediately before your exam starts, what's going to happen during the exam period itself, and then the check-out process when you're turning in your work from your Zoom exam session. So during the setup, part of the setup is actually watching this video, which you're doing. At the end of the video, there will be an honor code that we're going to ask you to go to and agree to electronically. We're also going to walk you through what software you need to install and check in order to take your exam via Zoom. And we're going to help you prepare your exam workspace where you'll be taking the exam at home or in your apartment. Next thing we'll do is we'll talk about the check-in process. This is what's going to happen immediately before you take your exam. You'll be given a Zoom conference meeting ID. You're going to join that Zoom conference. That conference will be proctored by an instructor. It may be your faculty instructor, or it may be a designated teaching assistant or graduate student that we're pulling in to help proctor the exam. So you're going to check in with that person who's been assigned to be the proctor for the exam, and then you're going to wait for the exam to start. The exam period is going to be done on Zoom. You're going to open your exam electronically. In most instances, it'll come to you via Canvas, but there may be some instructors who would prefer to email release the exam. You're going to complete the exam on paper that's adjacent to your electronic device on which you're reading the exam. And then we'll also talk about how to ask questions and get questions answered during the exam. The checkout process will require you to check out with a proctor. It's going to vary by instructor, but we'll walk you through two of the most common checkout processes. One of the most important things from checkout is going to be making sure that your instructor has received your exam. So there's going to be a receipt confirmation process that we're going to walk you through too. So the rest of this video will go step by step through each of these four processes in taking the exam. So let's start with setup. Setup is something that you can start on immediately. So there are a few things that we need you to do. First is watching this video, which you're obviously doing. We then need you to sign the honor code via the survey at the end of this video. This honor code and this video are something that you only need to do once. So unless instructed by your instructor, you only need to watch this video once for all of your online courses in the College of Engineering and agree to the honor pledge once. Second is we need you to install and check your technology that you're going to use to take the exam. You're going to need a couple things. First is a personal computer with a webcam. This can be a desktop. It could also be a clamshell style laptop with a screen that flips open. Or we know that some people are using Surfaces or other tablets. Those are all fine so long as that device has a webcam. and also likely a keyboard that you can work on. So webcam and keyboard are going to be critical, webcam being the most critical. The other thing you're going to need is stable internet access in order to run Zoom, which is going to be real-time streaming, and also in order to pull up your document on Canvas or again through email, depending on how your instructor is sending you the exam. Lastly, in order to turn in your work, you're going to need the ability to quickly scan in documents. You're going to be working on paper, and you need to be able to get that paper back to your instructor. So we recommend PDF scanner apps. Cam Scanner and Genius Scan are both really great. Those are free apps that you can download onto your phone, whether or not that phone is an iPhone or some sort of an Android. Both of those are very stable apps. If you do have a scanner at home that you would prefer to use, we are okay with you doing that, so long as the scanning process is quick, meaning we don't want you disappearing for 10 or 15 minutes while you scan in documents. But our preference is for you to have a PDF scanner app on your phone. So again, just to make sure everybody's clear on the technology you're going to need to take an exam via Zoom, we need Canvas, we need Zoom itself, and you're going to need some way to scan in to create an Adobe PDF file. We're recommending a PDF scanner app, Cam Scanner, or Genius Scan. Okay. The next thing you need to do is, once you have your technology set up, we need you to put some thought into preparing your exam workspace. Here is my example exam workspace. It's a quiet room with minimal through traffic from other people and pets, let's put it that way too. So pets, little brothers and sisters, mom and dad, roommates, make sure that they're aware that you're taking an exam and the space that you're working in needs to be pretty quiet. We realize that we can't eliminate all through traffic through the room, so we will be flexible on that, but we don't want to see a lot of people moving in and out behind you. Adjacent to your workspace, there should only be instructor permitted materials, right? So here's where I'm actually going to be working, and here is my computer where I'm going to be viewing Canvas. It's open to the Canvas page right now. So I have my permitted calculator, engineering paper. You'll notice I've got my cell phone here. So cell phone location will be specified by the instructor. In some of my classes, for instance, I'm going to request that the cell phone be placed adjacent to the work surface. Other instructors may want to see you place it behind you or away from yourself, but we do want to know physically where your cell phone is during the exam period. All other electronics are cleared from the room, so the only things that I have here that are electronic are my computer and my cell phone. Those are the only two that would connect to the internet. Obviously, I've got my calculator too, if that's an instructor-approved material. So that is a nice exam workspace. Okay, so let's say now that you've gotten yourself all set up, we'd recommend that you start the setup process pretty early, so making sure that technology is working, making sure that you have a nice workspace. The next thing would be what happens the day of the exam. So the instructor will let you know when check-in is open, so you'll receive a Zoom invitation to join a Zoom conference call to enter into a proctored session. We're calling this the check-in period. So they'll let you know when you can start checking in. This is the process of getting yourself ready to take the exam. So the exam hasn't started yet, but you can think of this as walking into the room and sitting down if this were a live class. Okay, so first thing you're going to need to do is log into the Zoom meeting with the link provided by the exam proctor or the instructor. You're going to want to make sure that your audio and video are both working. Please note that you may be placed in a waiting room until you are individually checked in to the session. This will vary by instructors. Some will put everybody in a waiting room. Others will have you enter the general session at once. Most sessions will be between 15 to 20 people. We're not going to sit the entire class down at once in one proctoring session. So people will be divided up into different proctoring sessions for the same exam. The proctor is going to conduct a check-in with you. So they may invite you in from the waiting room, or they may do the check-in with everybody. So what they're going to do is they're going to ask you to use your webcam to scan your exam workspace. So we want to see what's in front of you, in front of your screen, behind your screen, and all around. So we're going to look around the room really quick. Then the proctor is going to help you position yourself in what we're calling the exam ready position, which we'll describe in detail in just a second. You're then, after you get yourself all set up, you're checked in, you're going to be placed kind of on hold. You're going to wait until all others in your exam session are also checked in. We expect that this process will take about 1 minute or less per person, so it shouldn't take too long to get through everybody in your session, but you're going to be told to just hold steady and wait until you're ready. Okay, so more about the exam ready position. So this is an exam ready position that I'll be using in my classes. Different instructors may differ slightly, but basically what we want to see here is we want to see you. So there I am physically sitting in front of my webcam. And I want to have some line of sight towards where you're working. So I'll be working in this area here. The proctor can see my workspace, but you really can't see all the details that I'm writing on there because obviously we wouldn't want other people in the session to be able to see it as well. My cell phone is in, for my classes, in the position that I'd like it to be in, which is adjacent to the work surface and surface side down. Okay, but I can very clearly see where you're working and I can see you in this instance. So notice that the type of computer that I'm using here is a clamshell style laptop, so that is very stable to get yourself in this position. If you do have a tablet, we figured out a hack, so many thanks to sophomore level mechanical engineer Zach Conroy for figuring this out, but Zach has a tablet, and just with a simple binder clip, you're able to get your tablet into a position that would be exam ready. So if you have a tablet, spend a little time during exam prep getting yourself situated and practicing this exam ready position for yourself. Okay, once you're in exam ready, you're actually going to hold. This is going to be your default position throughout the exam. Please notice that this position that you're in, right, so this isn't all that different from kind of your line of sight when you are taking an exam with your peers in a classroom, right? You can see them over there, they can see you, but you really can't see what they're working on in terms of their work surface. So this isn't all that different from what we're asking you to do in person. Okay, so exam ready position. All right, so let's now say that everybody is checked into our session and we're ready to start. The way that these sessions will run is that the proctor will be monitoring all 15 to 20 people in their session via Zoom conference. They will be the host of that meeting, and that will give them some controls to be able to mute your audio and control the chat room. So first thing you're going to do is you're going to minimize your Zoom window just to see the proctor and the chat window. You can practice doing this on your own. If just running a Zoom call yourself, practice minimizing your window and just seeing the chat window. We need both of those there. Okay. Next is that the exam is going to release. Again, this will be different by instructor, but for most instructors, we're expecting them to release the exam in Canvas. So it'll be timed to release at a certain point. You'll need to get onto the course Canvas site and open up that exam document. The exam is going to start whenever that is released. That is the official start time of the exam. It's a timed exam. In my class, again, it'll be 75 minutes to complete, and that's when it'll start. You are to stay in the exam ready position as much as you can throughout the exam. So that is the default position. You can move back and forth between the exam packet on Canvas, meaning viewing your screen and looking at the exam, and your workspace where you're working on pen and paper. There's to be no other activity on your computer or obviously on your cell phone. The proctor is going to reserve the right to check in with you at any time, and they will do that via chat so that they are minimally disruptive to everybody else in the exam session. So this is why we need you to be able to view the proctor, okay, which is what's going to happen when you minimize Zoom, and also that chat window. So if the proctor has any concerns, they'll message you privately and say, you know, dear Steve, would you mind showing me your computer screen? You can share your screen with the proctor. Or, dear Steve, please make sure that you put your cell phone a little further away from yourself, okay? So the proctor will be checking in with you. We expect you to respond. Obviously, if you're super focused on your exam and you miss a chat, you can't address the chat instantly. We'll have a little bit of flex, but you know, keep working on the exam, stay in exam ready, and you should not receive a lot of correspondence from your proctor. Okay, so this brings up a question, which is, what if I have a question? The answer is question and answer with the proctor will work very similarly to an in-class exam situation. So the proctor will mostly be on mute to minimize disruptions, and just like during an exam, you might raise your hand and a teaching assistant or the instructor may come over to address your question. What the proctor will do is use chat to communicate with you. So you are to message the proctor and say, I have a question, and then ask your question. The proctor will respond to that question via chat. If the question that you are asking is useful to the rest of the class, just like during an in-class session, the proctor may choose to either chat message the entire class, or they may come over the audio and make an announcement to the class as a whole. The proctor is going to try to minimize disruptions, just like we're not constantly talking to you during an exam. We're going to do the same thing in the Zoom conference version of the exam. So you may hear periodic announcements about the amount of time that's left in the exam, or questions that need to be clarified. Please also be aware that if your exam is being proctored by a teaching assistant, that teaching assistant has a back channel to communicate with the instructor. So in very large classes, we may have 15 or 20 proctoring sessions going on at once, and the instructor is going to be communicating with the teaching assistants about any points that need to be clarified. Okay, so you do have access to the instructor as well via that chat, and the instructor can also pop on to the chat if needed. Okay, so ask your questions via chat. Okay, so let's say that the exam period is coming to a close, or that you have finished up your exam. How do you check out? Well, this policy is going to differ a little bit by class, so please follow your proctor and instructor instructions on how to check out. But for everybody, the main message here is you have to go through a checkout process before you exit the Zoom meeting. You must go through checkout before you exit Zoom. You can't just close the Zoom meeting and upload your file after you exit. We need to see you doing that. So if the instructor requests individual checkouts, the way that an individual checkout is going to work is that you are going to request a checkout via chat when you finish your exam. The proctor will then interact with you individually to walk you through the steps of the checkout. The other option is there may be some classes where the instructor is going to say, okay, everybody has to stay in the group session, in the Zoom session, until everybody in that session is done with their exam. If that is the case, you are to remain in exam ready. Maybe bring a book or something if you feel like you're going to finish way early, but you're to remain in exam ready and stay off your electronic devices until the end of the exam period, when there will be a group checkout. So the thing to remember about group checkout is you're going to have a limited time, 10 to 15 minutes or 5 to 10 minutes to check out, so you really need to be ready to go when they say group checkout is open. Okay, let's talk about the main thing of checkout, which is going to be how do you submit your work. So we want to watch you submit your work and also make sure that that work looks good in terms of readability before we allow you to check out from the session. So what you're going to need to do is first make sure that every page of your exam has the instructor requested ID at the top of each piece of paper. Some instructors are going to want just your name, other instructors are going to want name and student ID. Some instructors are just going to want student ID. Whatever it is, that needs to be very clearly written at the top of each page of your exam. Next is you're going to scan your exam papers to PDF and assemble those into a single PDF document. You're going to use either preferably your cell phone with that scanner app, or in some cases you may be using a scanner that you have at home. Again, that can't be far away from you. We need to be able to see you do that scanning. So most people, we're going to be advising you to use your cell phone with an app to scan in those pages, scan to PDF, every single page, and then assemble into a single document. Assembling into a single document, depending on your scanner app, you may be able to do that from the app, or you may need to do that on your computer. There might be a little bit of light work that you need to do on your computer to make it into a single file. Okay. Then you are going to, once you have your PDF file assembled, you're going to submit it, and you're going to have the proctor confirm receipt of that exam. So as instructed, instructions will vary by proctor. You're going to submit the exam, your PDF, to Canvas or sometimes they will request that you email it to the proctor. So be prepared to follow instructions. The proctor will say either email it to me or upload it to Canvas under the exam assignment. The proctor will then confirm that they have received your upload and will also check it for readability. They'll do a very quick look at the document to make sure that all pages are readable and we don't have questions after the exam period ends about your work. If something is unclear, you need to be prepared to rescan that document, okay? So don't immediately throw away your papers. It would be a good idea to actually save those papers for a little period of time after your exam ends, okay? But you may need to resubmit or rescan if something doesn't look clear. Only when your proctor says you are cleared to go, you individually, Steve, are cleared to go, are you okay to leave the Zoom meeting, okay? So we need to make sure that your file has been received and it's readable before we let you go, okay? So those are all of the steps that are involved in the checkout process. So again, in this video, folks, we have gone through all 4 major steps of Zoom proctoring via Zoom, taking an exam here at University of Delaware College of Engineering using the Zoom conferencing service. We're now at the point where you've completed the orientation and we need you to sign the honor code. So here is the URL. This is an L, folks, so this is bit.ly, okay? And then here's the QR code. Please take this honor code and sign it electronically. This will cover all classes that you're taking in the College of Engineering here at University of Delaware. Other announcements that I'd like to make right now. Folks with DSS accommodations. Accommodations are going to be coordinated through the instructor. It will vary by class, but in most instances what's going to happen is you will have a specific proctoring session that will be the length of time of your that your accommodations allow. So you will be in a separate Zoom conference that is specifically for your amount of time. Okay, so we will make DSS accommodations in the length of time allowed for the exam. Okay, another very important announcement is if you need any technology help, meaning you don't have a stable internet connection, you don't have a computer, things aren't installing properly, we need you to check in with your TA or your instructor. They're going to help direct you to resources within the department, resources at the college level, and resources at the university level to get you the technology that you need to take your exams online. All of this requires that you start getting ready now, preparing yourself for an online exam. In some classes, those exams may happen the first week that we come back from our extended break. So it's a good idea to get ready now. All right, folks, that concludes this training video on how to get yourself started with taking exams on Zoom. Good luck to everybody and stay healthy.